Hello everyone, welcome to the channel Melody Llama, and today we have yet another Bleach video, and we're going to be talking about Ulquiorra Schiffer, however you say it, and talk about why exactly he is so great as a villain and character in the series. When I look upon the Espada as a whole, right, I do think that a lot of them kind of didn't meet the potential that they could have had, and a lot of them are kind of bare bones in a way. Like, I point to the top three Espada, which I find very underwhelming. I think they're cool, I think they have great designs, being Stark, Barrigan, and Harabel, but they didn't have the depth that some of the others did, right? Like Grimjow or Neutra, or especially Ulquiorra, who I think is the best member of the group. Now, one of the first things you'll see right away is this striking design he has, right? He's kind of got this, like, metal look, like this sting look, and obviously it's very effective. It does convey that kind of isolation, that sorrow, right? He's also physically, like, built different than the others. Not so much in his first form, but when he does his release, he's very, like, skinny. He's very lanky. He's very thin. Right? His limbs are very long. He's kind of got this Slender Man build almost. Not as tall, but you get the idea. And it's unnerving, you know? A lot of the scariest things in, like, fiction are things that look close to humans, but are just different enough to where they make it disturbing, right? I point to, like, the necromorphs in Dead Space or something like that. Ulquiorra isn't this wild, like, monster, dragon, demon thing, right? He just kind of looks as close to normal as you can get, but all his limbs are thin. The Segunda Etapa is definitely my favorite design in all of Bleach, and I don't think any other design comes close. Maybe the Fossil Lord that fought him. Now let's jump to some of the actual scenes that make him really cool, and one of the ones I can think of is when he reveals he's number 4, right? The entire time, we're led to believe that Ulquiorra is kind of this right-hand man, like he's second in charge. Obviously that's Gin, but, like, as far as the Espada goes, he seems like he is second in command. And when it's revealed that it's not the case, it's the first step in conveying this idea that Ulquiorra is despair, right? Like, the narrative towards Ichigo is that it is hopeless, and Ulquiorra is supposed to embody that feeling, and this scene is the first step to that. Now, I want to take it back to his relationship with Yami, because I think this actually plays into it too, right? Yami is this larger-than-life giant motherfucker, right? He's buff as shit, he's built like Dave Bautista, he's supposed to feel like a big deal, but in the face of Ulquiorra, he's nothing. When Yoruichi hits Yami with the fucking Wombo combo, you're supposed to believe that they're getting somewhere, but Ulquiorra, in contrast to Yami, is so far above him, it's supposed to instill that feeling that you're not getting anywhere. Even after beating someone as hulking as Yami, it doesn't matter because you're still nowhere near Ulquiorra. As far as kind of their relationship goes, they're kind of like this Itachi-Kisame duo, right? Itachi being the silent one, and then you have the louder Kisame. I don't like Yami as much as I like Kisame, obviously, and I don't think their relationship is as good as Itachi and Kisame, but it conveys the same idea, and I think it works well for him. But what exactly is Ulquiorra's goal, and what is his intention? What are his beliefs? And his beliefs are pretty much that if he can't see it with his own eyes, it doesn't exist. There's this kind of chapter, this backstory chapter that you can read in one of the guides, where it actually goes into Ulquiorra's backstory, and it very much takes into the fact that he can only believe what he sees. This goes on when he sees the tree, and how he walks this endless journey and doesn't get anywhere. When he finally does see something, being this kind of empty, hollow tree, he merges with it and ends up right back to where he was. This will obviously matter later when he comes into contact with Ichigo, because Ichigo's whole thing is that he wants to protect his friends and all that crap, and Orihime's talking about the heart, and obviously she doesn't mean the physical heart, she means the, love she has for her friends, the faith that Ichigo will arrive, and Ulquiorra doesn't believe in any of that. He doesn't believe in this faith because he cannot see it. And one of the cool things is that this kind of parallels Aizen later in the story. I don't really see a lot of people talking about this, but some people feel like Ulquiorra isn't mentioned enough after his death. But I think that his death and his moral and his narrative with Ichigo plays subtly in the fight with Aizen. When Ichigo arrives and he's on a whole different plane of existence, Aizen is in denial because he cannot see it. He cannot believe that Ichigo has reached a new level and that he can destroy everything around him. Aizen really believes that it's just him, and because Aizen cannot see it, even with the Hogyoku, he's in denial about it. Ichigo pretty much redeems himself in the fight against Aizen because, as we'll talk about later, he fails here really against Ulquiorra, and we can talk about that later in the video, but as of now, he does redeem himself in the fight against Aizen. Now, that's the more subtle storytelling going on. The more obvious one is the contrast between Ulquiorra and Ichigo, right? The narrative around the Arrancar arc is that Ichigo is trying to come into grasp with the fact that he is part hollow, that he has a hollow in him, versus Ulquiorra, who's kind of doing the opposite, right? He's an Arrancar and he cannot see that he's developing other emotions here. Now, not only does he give Ichigo one of his best moments, and I think that villain-wise he has the best relationship with Orihime, he also gives Uryu one of his coolest moments, right? Uryu stands up to Ulquiorra, who is number 4 of the Espada, and not to say Uryu is weak, because he's very strong, underrated by this point in the series, in my opinion, but he's still far weaker than Ulquiorra, and seeing Uryu stand up to him to protect Ichigo and Orihime was just really neat to see. It really sells their relationship, and Ulquiorra being the catalyst to that obviously is going to help his character. He fights Uryu, and Uryu's battle against him is, like Ulquiorra's character implies, hopeless. In the actual battle, like, wow, this fight is just amazing. It's the best fight in the series, for good reason everybody believes that. And yeah, it's just really great. Like, the beginning where Ulquiorra is just way more powerful than Ichigo, and then he uses his release, and you're like, this is hopeless. Like, what is Ichigo supposed to do here? But he still remains strong. He still stands tall. And then he reveals the second one. And man, this was just so insane. Some people argue whether he's the real number 4. I'm not here to really power scale, but in my opinion, I don't think he was. I think Ulquiorra was far stronger than he let out to be. Way more so. But the second reveal was just ridiculous, right? It is the biggest step, the second step, in feeling that hopelessness, feeling that despair. Then the Vostok Lord appears, and obviously they have the back and forth, which was incredible. I know that Kubo wanted this fight to be a lot more back and forth. We see this in the Hellverse movie, but the way it came out either way was really cool. But if you want a bigger snippet, a more back and forth snippet of the fight, go watch the Hellverse movie because you get to see more of it. And in the end, Ulquiorra is very tragic, right? He dies realizing that he can finally understand it now. He finally sees it, the heart, the relationship he started to build with Orihime, where she remained hopeful, and he started to understand that. He started to develop something. Even if it wasn't positive or negative, it was a type of bond that he developed. And so now we can go back to the whole Aizen thing, because I think this is the most important part about Ulquiorra's character, is that his story remains even after he's gone. He breaks Ichigo, right? Ichigo fails here. He gives in to being a hollow, and he destroys Ulquiorra pretty mercilessly. And Ichigo's destroyed by this, right? Ulquiorra in a way succeeds here. He does instill hopelessness, because by the time Ichigo goes back to Karakura Town to face Aizen, he's distraught. He's a shell of his former self because, well, he just got completely annihilated. He thought if he remained hopeful, if he remained with bravery, it would work, but it did not work. And with Aizen, it's even more ridiculous than it already was with Ulquiorra. So Ichigo's a mess of himself here. Ichigo wouldn't find his resolve till he merges with Zangetsu, which is like his hollow powers, and he uses those hollow powers and all that, and he's basically accepting what he is, and he's willing to sacrifice everything for it. And in my head, Zangetsu, in a way, is supposed to represent Ulquiorra here. Both of them kind of end their arcs, being Ulquiorra and Ichigo, and their arcs accepting that the other side of them is very much real. And by the time Ichigo returns, he's accepted that fact, while Aizen, just like Ulquiorra, is blinded by what he cannot see. And because of the trials that Ulquiorra put Ichigo through, he's been there, done that. He annihilates Aizen. Ulquiorra is a complex villain done correctly. A lot of the time, writers will try to do this vague, like, poetic kind of character, and sometimes it falls flat, but with Ulquiorra, it couldn't have worked better. I love Ulquiorra. He's such a cool character, a cool personality, a cool, incredibly unique design. And yeah, he's just sick. I don't know if he's my favorite villain in the series. He's probably up there, definitely top 3. But yeah, that is why I think Ulquiorra Schiffer is so great. Let me know down below. Are you a fan of the character? Do you feel like there was something more he could have done? Do you like someone else more than Ulquiorra? Let me know your general thoughts about the character. Who you guys want me to talk about next? Like, comment, and subscribe. Share the video as well. I'd be much appreciated. Over 500 subscribers. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. And I'm out. Bye.